The Brightside Chronicles is about to go down with Kerri and Nana. You ready for the show to begin?
Hey, let's go. Let's get it. It's almost showtime. Let's go. Let's get it. It's almost go time. Let's freaking go.
What is poppin', everybody? I'm going to be a little quieter than I usually am. Up and I got my co-host.
Yeah!
Listen, for anybody out there watching already, this is the Brightside Chronicles with your host, Kerri Lewis. And I am here with my amazing co-host, Nana Ajman. And today we have an incredible guest, Al Richards, who I love so much. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But I just want to let everybody know tonight has been a true testament of just resilience and going with the flow, because up until 2 minutes ago, Al was sitting on hold for 25 minutes. Nana couldn't get on his channel, and I was running around the Sheraton Hotel in Norwood trying to get Wi-Fi. But we are here getting it done. So talk about being in joy. How we doing, guys?
Awesome. Doing great.
Yo, I'm glad to be a part of this because I was like, man, there's no way I'm missing out on this.
I know. I'm so excited to have you here, Al. So as you have been informed on previous occasions, this show was really inspired by Nana and I to bring joy to the world. I think right now in the current climate, there's a lot of narratives around fear and, lack and suffering, which you more than some know a lot about, and yet you still show up every day joyful. And so I'm curious, first, what does joy mean to you?
Wow, that's a really good question, Kerri. I've not ever anybody in my 61 years asked that question to me.
I just want to age you is all.
Damn.
Hey, I still look like I'm in my 40s, so it's
You do. You
okay.
look amazing.
I don't mind
So,
saying my age at all. In all honesty, Kerri, I really didn't know what joy was up until probably, I don't know, I guess a couple years ago. As you know, I lost a 24-year career in 2009 and had someone be honest with me and tell me the type of person that I was, which was a liar and a manipulator. And I didn't want to have myself looked at like that. I didn't want that to be my legacy. So as I've worked on myself these past 17 years, I can honestly frickin' say, gosh, I'm just going to put it this way. Joy to me is, for the first time in my damn life, I love who the hell I am. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Well, she froze up. Oh, there she is. Maybe she's back. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Listen, guys, I'm on random free Wi-Fi, so we just gonna go with the flow. So, Shia, thank you very much. Hello, we are so glad to have you here. Al, I much like you really agree with you that self-love is it is instrumental and necessary in order for people to be able to tap into joy, even when they're experiencing some unexpected challenges, which you and I just did an interview and you lost a leg unexpectedly, correct?
Yeah, correct. Actually, about a little over 6 weeks ago, March 7th, I lost my right leg below the knee.
Yeah. And so how have you been able to navigate?
There's a little book of it right there.
Oh, yeah.
I just got my staples out yesterday.
So
I love that you did that in mid-sentence.
Right?
Well, how have you been able to cultivate joy while experiencing something that a lot of people would use as a reason to give up or to stop trying or to just sit in misery, really?
The way that I looked at it, Kerri and Nana, is I figured I had two choices. I had the choice if I could either wallow in my darkness, feel sorry for myself, and basically end up like a cesspool, just puddled there stinking with gnats and flies flying all around me and allowing the opposition to get in my head, causing negative thoughts. Or I can choose and go, you know what? There are people out there that are doing it. Why the hell can't I do it? So there's no reason why for me to sit down and waller in it, and it's crazy too, because when the doctor came in and said that you may just lose your leg, I mean, that shock right in itself, my daughter slid right over to my bed and grabbed my hand. And for, I don't know, it seemed like 5 minutes to me. I told myself, first thing, my life's over.
Yeah.
I didn't be able to drive. I can't kick the soccer ball with my grandkids. I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm not going to be able to hike, which I love hiking because we have beautiful Wasatch Mountains here in Salt Lake. That's my church. It's the church God built, not a man. And I started thinking all these negative thoughts.
Yeah.
And luckily with my training and also living through what I've lived through the past 17 years, I quickly caught what I was thinking and went, no, this isn't how my life's going to go. I'm going to continue to move forward. And it's so crazy because I did a talk yesterday in front of about 35 to 40 realtors. And the talk was about resilience.
Ooh.
And my buddy who got up to introduce me, he says, I don't know how many people have been in the hospital or gone to visit anybody in the hospital, but he goes, this man was working out in his hospital room. And he wanted me to bring it up. And so being consistent at the gym for the past 13 years, I couldn't go to the gym, right? I just had my leg cut off a couple days before. Yeah. And so I asked my PT therapist, I'm like, do you guys got any dumbbells that I could use? And they're like, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah. And they says, yeah, we could bring some up. And they're like, well, what do you got? And they says, I don't know. I think we got some 10s or maybe 20s. And I says, well, if you got 20s, bring them up. Well, all they had was 10s. And so they brought them up to me. And the next morning, of course, you can't sleep in a hospital, right? I mean, yeah. So one morning I'm just laying there and I'm getting restless. And so I reached down and grabbed the dumbbells and swung my legs over the side of my bed. And I'm in there just doing curls. And my nurse walked in and just like stopped and went, what the hell are you doing? My whole career, I've never seen anybody work out in their hospital bed. But again, it's not to pat myself on the back or to glorify me. No. It's just saying this was my way of saying my life is not going to stop just because of having my leg removed.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh my.
Go ahead, babe. I know you got something to say.
No, I was going to say, first and foremost, being a gym head, as you can tell, that's freaking impressive. That's like impressive because like the mental woe that it takes to go to the gym day in and day out, that is a mindset that most people don't, take into consideration sometimes when they go into working out. Because, people want the instant gratification of like, I just worked out for 20 minutes and I'm going to get like a dream build. And I'm like, no, like this is a constant grind of like telling yourself, hey, I'm going to put my body through all these measures of like testaments to just challenge my body, and that within itself is just cool as hell. Cause like, I don't know, if I was a nurse, I probably would have recorded the video and be like, yo, this is like the coolest shit I've seen all day today.
I mean, but it is though, and I think that the reality is that and Al and I talk about this a lot because he's a soul brother. Like he and I are connected. He's family for sure, and like I believe everybody goes through suffering because we have an opportunity in that suffering to expand and grow and unfold into deeper love, which I, myself and Al and Nana as well do. But so often society and the narrative that I see pervasive is suffering's bad and that we need to avoid it at all costs. But I fundamentally believe that it is in our suffering that we discover who we are and how strong we are. And it is those choices. It's those moment by moment choices. It's not the overarching, oh, I got through this really hard thing and now I'm resilient and I'm strong. It is, okay, I lost my job. I was told I was selfish. I had to face the reality that I may have drank excessively and that some of the choices I made impacted my children. And I went through that. And then I got unexpected information that my sister or a loved one or significant other passed away unexpectedly, and it's showing up in that moment and saying, yes, this is not the situation I would have hoped for, but it is what I am facing, and how can I show up in this space from a place of love and compassion? And you picking up those weights is exactly what you did for yourself and the world, I believe, Al.
Yeah, and I don't want your listeners to misunderstand this. I had my moments, right? I had my moments where I woke up in the morning and I'm just freaking crying my ass off, looking down, and I'm like, I don't know. I no longer have a leg, right? I knew still, even though I was doing the weights, I knew my life was going to change in so many different ways, so many ways, right? A lot of things that I was used to doing, I no longer am able to do that. Even to this day, 6 weeks later, there's things that are changing. It takes me longer to do stuff. I have to hop around. I'm doing different exercises at the gym that basically are things that I was taught in physical therapy to help strengthen my hip flexors and things like that. So I really would like to stress with the listeners, it's okay for us to go through these feelings, right? So my coaches who I work with out of Canada, which was crazy because I just got done talking about this 2 days before I spoke to them on a podcast that I was doing. And when we got off the coaches circle, they asked me to stay on and they asked me how I was doing. And this was about a week before I lost my leg because I was in excruciating pain. I could just barely make it through a day. I'm averaging an hour and a half of sleep a night. I was starting to hallucinate. My pain threshold had gotten so freaking high that I was starting to, and I'm against prescription drugs period. I was popping oxycodone like crazy just to try to get some relief. And I'm happy to say I stopped taking those 4 weeks ago. So I've not even popped one pain pill or muscle relaxer since then. But, my coaches said, how are you doing, Al? And I says, oh, I'm doing great, man. I'm keeping my chin up, and I'm staying positive. And my coach goes, what the fuck are you doing? And I said, excuse me? And she said, you heard me. What the fuck are you doing? And she goes, Al, you're trying to hold that damn beach ball under the water. Let that son of a bitch go. You cannot handle being this. You got to let your emotions go through their course. And as soon as I got off that call, I punched my mattress for probably 5 minutes. I was screaming. I was yelling. I started crying because I was bottling all that stuff up inside me. And they were right. I was holding that. If you guys try to hold a beach ball under the water, the further you try to go down, the harder it gets till it flies up and smacks you in the face.
Yep.
You got to allow those emotions to go through. And that's what helps. That's what helps build us. At least that's my version of it. That our traumas, our challenges, that's what builds us. Those are our strengths. These are not things against our life. God doesn't throw lightning bolts down at us and goes, guess what? Now I'm going to throw this at you. We have to have these things to help build our character and help build our strength. Unfortunately, some of us stay down low, right? Because we just don't know how, or they don't have the right surroundings, whatever it may be. And I'm not putting them down. It's just, that's who they are as individuals, right? We all handle things differently.
Yes.
However, thanks to training that I've had and the experiences that I've had, I've learned to now take these things as hard as it frickin' is. Because I just lost my ex-wife a week ago Tuesday. So after 5 weeks after losing my leg, I lose her. And I was with this woman 18 years. I still love her. I still cared a lot about her. She was just battling demons that she was having a hard time grasping and getting rid of.
Yeah.
And again, I went through my time. I'm still going through my time, but now I'm looking at it too, going, I don't know what lesson is to come out of this, but there's going to be one. And I don't know what blessing is going to come out of this, but I know there's going to be one.
Yeah.
Ooh. Oh my gosh. Like, I'm just, going back to the whole resilience part. I'm big on that. That word is like one of my favorite words because I do car sales. So constant fluctuation of ups and downs with life in general and dealing with family, dealing with relationship, dealing with the stress of wanting to be great. That comes with that whole resilience and grit thing where, like, I remember a prime example. This is like a couple months back, maybe like 6 months ago or whatever it is. And I was having one of those just very strenuous, like challenging. Everything just felt like it was just going backwards. I'm like, what is going on? Like, I know I set myself up for success, but I held these emotions in probably for like a couple of days. And I just remember leaving work on like, I think it was like a Saturday or something like that. And Saturdays in the car sales industry is like busy. You got a lot of people coming in and whatever. But I remember literally leaving work so annoyed and just like frustrated with just how like it panned out. I remember sitting in my car, literally just, and tears just started coming out of my eyes. And I was just like, yo, man, like, this is emotion that's like been bottled up. Like you're talking about, Al, it's like too many times I feel like you're, being a masculine male or whatever, you can't cry, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, that's so like not, like, that's not healthy. You have to get those emotions out. But I remember sitting in the car and I just started bawling my eyes out. And I was just like, dude, I've given like the best I could to try to make sure things went accordingly, and it just didn't go accordingly. And the lesson that came about it was that like it's just life. Like there's gonna be ups and downs, but like you're hoping to have obviously more ups than downs, but it's just the way that things work. So like getting the emotion out really like reiterated, and I just sat there and I just was like, dude, I need to get that cry out of the way. Like I needed to get that cry and feel my feels. Like, Kerri would say, it's like, just live in the moment and just understand that that's okay to be like frustrated and express it. Like you punching the pillows and things of that nature in the hospital. That's human nature. Like I can't picture anybody that just lost a leg and just be like, oh, like I'm going to go grab a couple of Dunkin' Donuts and call it a day or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not how it works like that.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to jump in here because there's so much to unpack here. But when there's the reality is both of you, your ability to honor your emotions in the present moment gives you the ability to experience more joy. Because what happens, and this is so important for the listening audience to understand, when we pack away our emotion, one, it presents an addiction, as Al and I can attest. Two, it presents in physical and emotional illness, whether it's anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, bipolar, and or autoimmune diseases, cancers, right? The reality is emotion is just energy. It's energy based on a thought process that you're having or a belief system or habits or experiences you're having. And it's energy cultivated within your body that needs to be expressed. The sooner you express that energy, the faster you come back to homeostasis, which is joy, which is total joy. And that's why I tell people. And so what you said, Al, that really aligns for me is that like you experience so much joy, but it's because you honor yourself in the present moment, and then you come back home to peace much more quickly than somebody who may have gone through the same experience, who's never felt their feelings. So now all of a sudden it feels like their entire world's caving in on them because of this experience. And now they have to feel their feelings from not just this experience, but from every single experience up until this point, from the beginning of their life until now. And you're not a fan of prescription drugs. Neither am I, particularly for mental health long term. I think short term, there's benefit, but long term, and I'll tell you why, because it inhibits our ability to feel our feelings deeply. So yes, on the one side, we feel, but But people who are on those types of drugs don't feel as much joy as the three of us. And people who are on those type of drugs, the truth is they don't suffer as much either, but I would rather suffer and experience the amount of joy I suffer every single day than to not experience suffering and not to feel the amount of joy that I do.
Yeah. And that's 100% correct. You know, Kerri, seriously, it is. Because when I was on all those painkillers and then, of course, getting in the hospital and going, I mean, I ended up having a total of 5 surgeries in 6 weeks. So, and I was under anesthesia a lot of those times, which that messes with your body and your brain every single time. And there's so many things that my mom and my daughters are telling me that I don't even remember.
Yeah.
And it's just because I was so drugged up and my mental was completely gone, really. You know, I can remember some things. I mean, I had a buddy come and get me out of the house, and another buddy called me and I said, "Hey, we're having coffee. You want to come and join us?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was telling my buddy about who was coming. He goes, "Yeah, I met him already. He came and visited you at the hospital when I was there." And I'm like, "No, he didn't." It's like, "No, he did. How do you think I know who you're talking about? I don't even remember him coming and visiting me." You know, which is crazy. So for me to get my sanity back and get my mind back, I had to get off these painkillers as quick as possible. Now, my addiction back in the days was cocaine and alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
I've never, ever agreed with prescription pills because I knew now there are some that have to help people, right? They're there for a good reason. They help people with a lot of different things. I'm not totally knocking them, but as far as for me, at least, I just wanted to get off of them as quick as possible so I could get my head back straight, because I knew if my head wasn't back straight, there was no way I was going to continue to heal in the direction that I needed to go for me.
Ooh.
Yeah, 100%. And again, you know, because I go back and forth. I just had a conversation with a psychologist earlier today, Liz. Shout out to Liz if you're watching, about medication. Look, medication as a whole is not horrible. Like, I'm not here to tell anybody to judge themselves or jump off medication. Absolutely not. What I am encouraging people to do is like, what are they experiencing? What are they going through? And then what work are you doing? Because medication within itself long-term does have long-term effects. It just does. And that's just a reality. So, but anyway, jumping off the medication bandwagon, because I can go on that forever and everybody knows it. So going back to joy, you have just shared with the listening audience that you have just unexpectedly lost somebody who was a part of your life for 18 years and you love immensely. You just lost your leg. What things outside of lifting weights do you do, Al, to cultivate joy in your daily rhythm? And how does that play a part in the work you do? Because you, like me, work in addiction recovery.
Yeah, you know, for me, it's been my higher power, who I call God, and I'm very tapped in with my spiritual side of things. And, you know, living in a state that's LDS prominent, and our whole family's LDS, but I don't practice that. Years ago, I really shied away from it and was wanting to get closer to God without having to be in a building, you know. And so having that, knowing that He's by my side, Jesus is by my side. I talk to my Holy Spirit. I talk to my angels all the time. The joy too is I'm living with my daughter. Matter of fact, the room I'm in is my youngest granddaughter. She gave up her room so Papa could stay in it. She's in my sister's room, you know, and having my grandkids around me and my family around me right now, because my living quarters didn't quite fit for me missing a leg. I needed a little bit more wide open space and things. And
can I interject real quick? Because for the listening audience, and this is one of the reasons I absolutely love Al, because Al and I are so aligned. He gave up everything to build his podcast on addiction because he, like me, am passionate on helping support people and educating them and being that that lived experience, that embodiment of it. And so you moved into a trailer, if I'm not mistaken, because you and me talked, and you gave up all this stuff to make sure that you could show up, fully express, and give the very best of yourself to your podcast, which I have immense respect for, because I've been there, done that, and Anna can attest. So you and me is so aligned. So for the listening audience, like, I love that you love so well that your daughter was able to extend her home to you and support you through this time, because you've given so much of yourself. And that is the true extension of love, in my opinion.
No, you're 100% right. I ended up buying a 31-foot camping trailer, and my mom's on an acre of land, which is where I grew up. And my mom and dad used to park their fifth wheel next to it. And I just called her up one day and said, hey, my dad had passed away. He had already been gone for about a year. And I said, hey, would you be cool if I bought a trailer and parked it next to the barn? At least I'm there. I can help do yard work and do things for you. And she's like, absolutely. So that's what I did. Most of our stuff went into storage, and I bought a 31-foot camping trailer, and that's what I lived in. So missing a leg, if a camping trailer doesn't quite fit, for somebody that an amputee, at least until I get my prosthetic anyway. But yeah. And just even going back to the love, I'd really like to share this. I mentioned 17 years I've been working on myself. And like I said, a couple years ago, I finally fell in love with Al Richards for who I am as an individual.
That makes me so
And
happy.
what has been, I'll get emotional even talking about this.
Do you?
Because all these years I've been working on myself to be a better human being and a better person, and give out more love and more kindness and be there for others in a really good way, instead of being there for Al Richards, which that's who I was all the time before, right? Everything had to do with Al, everything. And when you give a lot of that up and you go in a different direction, and since my amputation, the outpouring of love that I have received and the comments that I have received on social media, man, it's just, there was so many times I was sitting in my hospital bed with just tears flowing down my face going, oh my hell, I had no clue I inspired that person that way. And it was one person after another person after another person. And even my mom, she was following some of it. And she's like, my gosh, you have touched so many lives. And I remember I started crying just like I am now. And I'm like, I had no clue I was even doing it.
Yeah.
So
You're be in the fields right now.
When you work on yourself, you are seriously changing other lives, and you don't even know it. The ripple effect goes so much further than that first drop in the puddle. It just expands so much. And even with the loss of my ex, I mean, man, it just keeps coming, and it just keeps coming in. And I have just laid in bed sometimes at night, just in awe, going, I had no clue that this is how it was going to work at all. I just wanted to improve me. That's all my plan was to make Al Richards a better man. And in the same time, I'm making both other men and women change their life because of what I'm doing.
It's so funny, Claudia, thank you for saying that. But I think, having known Al for a couple of years now and doing the same work, we no act of love is ever wasted. I tell everybody that. And that is that was a profound lesson for me, Al, because the thing is my family, we didn't grow up hugging each other. We didn't grow up saying we love each other. And so when I did my work, got very comfortable with myself, love myself, I would say I love you to my siblings, and I would go to hug people, and it would feel like rejection because it wasn't something that was taught, and it is a skill. And then I read that and I was like, wait a minute, it doesn't matter how I perceive the love that I've given out It's never wasted. And then when challenges come up, like Nana and I experienced the loss of a baby and like through miscarriage and all of this stuff, that's when you recognize that that love is never wasted, because the love that you extend comes back to you 100-fold, which is why love is so much more powerful than fear, guys. And this is why joy can take you places that fear will never get you, ever.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen to that. Nana, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say I love the whole like the impact that you were talking about, how you've been able to just touch people without knowing that. That's the reason why I bring that up, is because that's kind of like what I've been able to do with what I do for work wise. Like there's days that like I have a family that comes in that desperately needs a vehicle, and I'm just like, I want to help you out. I got to figure out how to make things happen. And I love that, because like that starts forming that bond of, I'm not just a regular salesperson. I'm just a regular person that just is trying to figure it out for the person. And even going back to the community, like it spread so much. Like literally this week I was in the gym, which obviously you can attest that how you build a community from the gym. You know, I mean, you see the regulars, you see the people that show up, you know, beginning of the year and things of that nature when you're there. But being a part of the gym, I've been dressing up in random outfits because it's funny as heck to me. And so one of the persons who's actually going to be on the show next week, which is really funny, she
Anna!
Anna, so she literally comes up to me as I'm in one of my outfits from the gym, and she's like, "You're so different." I was like, "This is just me, just being me, right?" And then she says, "Well, I have a Spider-Man outfit," and I was like, "Okay, so wear it tomorrow. I'll be at the gym." And lo and behold, like stuck to her word, I wore my thing because I was like, "There's no way I'm not like I'm gonna rock it," because you said that you challenged me, so in a good way. And then she shows up, and it was so freaking like cool to see that, because normally she wouldn't have done that had she not seen, you know, just. And it wasn't because of me. It was just like I did something that was just natural to me, but it gave her the comfort and the confidence to be like, oh, if Nana can do it and he's just a regular person, I can do the same thing too. So we literally both happened to have like a Spider-Man outfit, and we took a couple pictures. We got back into working out, obviously, but like it was just like,
Yeah.
it was
But
cool.
you know what? I want to jump in here real quick, because
Yeah.
similar to you, Al, Nana has made such a massive impact. And the thing is, you two are very humble, right? You and I have had this conversation before, Al. I'm like, I truly believe, you know, God doesn't want us to play small, not thinking that our britches are bigger than somebody else's, but also I am fully comfortable expressing all the work I did, right? But Nana and you tend to be more humble. But I watch people hand make dolls for Nana, bring in homemade cookies, bring him random shirts, show up at like parades, and he's just like, I'm just a regular old regular dude. I'm like, but you're not. It's you express yourself
Appreciate it.
through love, and in that extension of love without expectation, people extend it back to you in ways you couldn't possibly have ever imagined.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's just cool to just like, it's almost like how do I say it? You know, like those little, when people set something up and they drop something and they just like keeps like
Ripple effect
in a sense.
Mhm.
Like that's what it feels like, you know, when you're being authentic to yourself and you're just being yourself and you're just doing whatever makes you happy. It gives people the comfort to be like, oh, I can do something of that nature as well in my own way. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not like you're doing it for a showcase or anything. I'm just doing it because it's just me. Like I just, you know, even like dyeing my hair, that's just me just expressing myself. And it might come off as like, oh, what is he doing? Like that's not normal. That's okay. I'm okay not being normal. Like I'm not worried about what others think of who I am. I'm comfortable in my own skin that I don't have to worry about other people's perception of me. This is
But that goes back to my question to you, Al. So you shared with the listening audience, you know, you 17 years ago you fell in love with Al Richards, right? And I believe that to truly fully love oneself, you do have to be comfortable being an outlier, like being unique and being. How has really learning to love yourself, right? And so you share with the audience, you're 61. So you were in your 40s, where a lot of people would say, up, I'm 40, I can't learn anything new. I'm stuck in my old ways. How has your experience in the last 17 years changed? And being able to just be fully expressed and not fearful of how you show up in this world.
Wow, that's a good question. And before I answer, I want to say hi, Andrea. I love you, sweetie. She is a sweetheart. We talk at the gym every once in a while. So she's an amazing lady. I love her to death.
We love you too for showing up. Thank you, Andrea.
And really, it's only actually been the last couple of years, Kerri, that I've really fallen in love with myself. But I guess one of the greatest things that's come from all this is, which we've talked about it earlier, the love that we've been given back. I look at it now, my version of it now is that we cannot truly love others the way they deserve to be loved until we love ourselves. Because once we love ourselves, that love that we admit is so much higher and so much stronger. The energy is just increases, and it just makes life so much better, and I don't know if I'm answering your question, so please redirect me if I'm not.
So it's just that, because you said in the past couple of years, right? So one thing I can say, Nana and I show up fully expressed. Take me, leave me, love me, hate me, I don't care.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? And so in your experience of truly loving the whole of you, right? The hot mess express, crying, punching into a pillow, maybe dropping an F word here or there, because I always swear, or showing up in kindness. How has that changed the experience that you've had from the first so many years in your life to now, where you're just like, okay, I'm going to be Al Richards, and you take it, I love that,
Yeah, it has changed it immensely. I was somebody that didn't really want to, I would hold everything in, right? I mean, I did have a short fuse, and I went to therapy for 6 months in my mid-20s to learn how to control my temper. And I held that back throughout all these other years, right? Because I was so afraid to express the way that I was really feeling. And it wasn't until my ex-wife with her addiction is when a lot of that first started coming out. So it has really helped me open up to who I truly am as an individual, because there are people, man, not everyone's going to like you. It's impossible.
Right.
Not everyone. Right. And it's okay, because if I have 75 people out of 100 that freaking love Al Richards, I'll take those 75 any day of the week. I could give a shit less what anybody else will do, because they're seeing something, right? Yeah. I mean, if the majority is on the other side. So one thing too that I have really found with speaking your mind, which I have really appreciated when others do that for me, because that is what's helped me grow. If that person didn't tell me I was known as a liar and a manipulator, I would still be a liar and a manipulator.
Yeah.
So being able to express your feelings and say what's on your mind, not out of disrespect, not out of ignorance, but to do it in a way to say, look, this is where I stand. And it has nothing to do that you're weak and I'm stronger. It has nothing to do with that. It's just that this is where I stand. And I say this a lot, even on my podcast. I'm doing everything I can, and I'm getting so much better at it, to not use the word believe. Like, I believe this. And the reason why is because the word lie is in the word belief. So what makes my belief better than your belief, Kerri, or not? What makes your belief better than my belief? Because I was raised a different way than all the other two you were raised, right? So we're these molds of other individuals and family and different things that's happened into our life. But why? It's not my job to sit and try to force what I believe down your damn throat, because that's not my place. It's just this is who I am. This is how I look at my life. This is who I allowed in my bubble. Because only certain individuals are allowed in my bubble anymore, where before you could do all kinds of shit to me, right? And I'd still allow you in my bubble. But now everything is so important to me that if I start noticing something changing, you've got to step out of my bubble. Not that I'm going to be mean and ignorant to you. I'm still going to be nice, but I don't want to be around you, right? I want you at a distance. And so that's what's really, really helped me throughout these last couple of years to get to where I'm at today.
I want to chime in. I love the bubble aspect because I'm big about that. And it's not that like I can't get along. Like you were saying, not everybody's going to like you. Regardless of you could be the nicest person in the world, there's always going to be somebody that's just not going to like you. And that's okay. That's understandable because that's just human nature. You know what I mean? People might like you because you're too happy. People might like you because whatever it is.
You swear.
Exactly. But the bubble thing is so important because I'm very, very like aware of my surroundings, right? Like there's examples that I've even told Kerri, like somebody's off to me, like I can kind of like pick it up right off the bat. And it's not that I'm judging them, it's just the energies that are intermingling. When I walk past someone, you kind of pick it up like this person is not genuine. And it's not, maybe they're just not genuine to me because I just can feel it right off the bat. But like the whole bubble thing is huge, huge, huge because like you are the sum of the 5 people that are around you, right? So like let's say if you have somebody that's very not upbeat, you're gonna feel that. There's somebody that's absolutely upbeat, you're gonna feel that. There's somebody that is believing or lying and things of that nature. That's that, you know what I mean? Those are the people that culminate to who you are as a person. So that bubble is so important to make sure that you are like aware of your surroundings and who's affecting that, or you know, good or bad, but like make sure you're like keeping that bubble centered around you.
So you know I gotta jump in here, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, I've studied the quantum sciences of this, right? When we sit in joy, I mean, when we are authentic to ourselves, we sit in joy. Meaning, and very much to Al's point, Al, you and me are so in sync around this. My job is not to sell you on any belief. My job is to help you uncover what beliefs feel true for you, because in those beliefs, you sit in joy. And in that joy, you extend love and you extend joy to others. How do you judge somebody when you're sitting happy? Like, what do I care if Nana shows up for a date dressed as Dora the Explorer? If he's happy, I'm happy. What do I care, right? That really actually happened, Al. No joke. I'll send you pictures. But the point is, and that's true. And the other thing is as you cultivate self-love, right, you recognize that if you work for everybody, you're not being authentic because you're a slave to external circumstances. You're a slave to what Joe Schmo thinks of you with this haircut, or Sally Sue thinks about you with this shirt, or whatever the case is. And so self-love is the ability to stay true in what feels right for you without feeling the need to sell that to anybody else, and to be able to bear witness to that other individual in love without condemnation or judgment, which is why I love that Nana and I do the Brightside Chronicles, because we highlight people who sit in joy, because in that joy, they extend love, not judgment.
Yeah, absolutely. Because again, my version, if you're judging other people, you're just judging yourself. That's all it is. And that again, my version is 100% true. Because I was there. I did the same thing. I judged people. I made fun of people. You know, that's what I grew up around. I thought that's what you was supposed to do. It took me a long time, which is crazy because I got teased when I was a kid. I was crippled when I was a kid. I wore the Forrest Gump brace, the platform shoe. You know, I got teased as being crippled in 4 eyes because I wore glasses. And here I am now as an adult, and I'm turning around and doing the same thing people did to me when I was a kid, or kids did to me. And it took me time to start realizing, for me, life is so much better if I stay on my side of the street. Now, if somebody's hurting and somebody is struggling, man, I want to be there for them, right? I want to go up and put my arms around them and say, hey, it's okay, right? What, you know, I'm here if you need to talk. But for me to sit there and do what I was told when I was a kid, stop your crying or I'll give you a reason to cry, or what the hell's wrong with you. And, you know, and I used to say this to my ex all the time. Why can't you just stop drinking? Right. I mean, all this has taught me so much. And I have really, one of my good buddies, Mitch, matter of fact, if Andrea's still on, it's her boyfriend, good friend of mine, Nicholas T. Smith. He was on my show. And he brought up this thing that Steve Jobs said. And it's like, if you connect your dots backwards in your life, you'll see you're exactly where you're meant to be right at this moment. And when he said that, when I went home that night, I just started turning my life backwards. I started rewinding everything from the day that I lost my job. And I realized I have been being groomed these past 17 years to be right where I'm at today. If you go back, I've started looking at some of the jobs that I did just to try to make some money, or people that I met or whatever. It was leading me to another dot, to another dot, to another dot that put me on this big, huge dot that I'm standing on right this moment.
Ooh, babe, go ahead. You got something to say?
I was just saying, like, I love the whole, like just what I was just talking about. I was just in awe. Like, even talking about, like, you know, the whole bullying thing and, like, 4 eyes. That was, like, a common thing back in the day. And then, like, you kind of, like, grow into it. And you're just like, all right, whatever. Like, that's just normal at this point. And even at that, it's like, I remember, I think that was, like, middle school. Somebody said it to me. And I didn't know what it was at that time frame. I'm like, what is 4 eyes? And I didn't. I was like, are you, like, is that a compliment? Because, you know what I mean? It just didn't make sense to me at that time frame. And then I was like, oh, that's not a nice way of addressing someone. It's just you're poking fun at them. But I was big on, like, not that, like, I just didn't care for it. I was like, okay, cool. Like, that's how you feel about it. That's great. I got to keep, like, go. And I think I learned that just because, like, going back to the word resilience, it's like I grew up in that mentality of, like, I just got to just figure out things for myself. Not saying I didn't have family and friends, which I had a lot of that. I had family, friends, and people that helped to keep me, like, in a good headspace. But, like, I was always big on, like, okay, like, I just gotta just live life. Like, we only get one life to live. So, like, if I'm gonna live, I gotta live it to the best of my abilities and enjoy it to the fullest that I can. That was just my take on it. But I love that you pointed that part out too.
Oh, and I love your take on it, Nana. Seriously, I do. Right? Because the passing of my ex has really got me thinking a lot. You know, I got to see her Sunday. She was living at a road home. I took some mail to her. I got to see her Sunday. 2 days later, I get the call, or a day and a half later, right? 2 days later, I get the call that she had passed. And I've really been reflecting on that a lot this past week. How, and even with the loss of my leg, this just escalated what I was already thinking, that life changes in an instant. I'm not guaranteed. I'm going to an event right after this. I'm not guaranteed that I'll make it home. I might not even be guaranteed to make it to the event, right? Life can change so quickly. And it was important to me before, but it's so more important now to me to tell people who are in my life that I love them.
Yep.
Right? I care about them, and hug them and let them know, because I'm not guaranteed to see them tomorrow, and they're not guaranteed to see me tomorrow.
Yep.
And I wished I would have done that with my ex. I didn't get out of the car. We talked for 5 minutes. I had a friend had to drive me because I'm not able to drive, of course, yet. And I was doing this, beating myself up, going, if I just would have got out of the car to hug her. And I mean, I told her, you mean a lot to me. I hope you're doing okay. I really hope you're back on track, you know. And however, that hug would have meant so much more, right? So much more. And we go through this stage of grieving of the I should have done that. I should have done this. And of course, that's part of our grieving. However, to be able to just express that love as much as you can on a continuous basis, at least I feel that gives us a little bit more peace. And it also helps us grow even more, right? It helps us emit more of that love.
Well, you know what? I'm going to jump in here because a couple things. I know you got to jump just before the hour, but also Something I tell people, and I stand by this. And I was talking to my daughter on my way into Norwood today because we had an hour and a half drive in. If I were to pass away today, I would have zero regrets, because one thing I know, Nana, my children and my family unequivocally know I love them. And I think that my listening audience, anybody who's followed me for any number of years, knows that I extend love, and I can live with that. And secondly, again, it goes back to no act of love is ever wasted. And if you think about it, I would encourage a listening audience to consider this too. You're 2 weeks out of losing your leg and you showed up to support somebody that you loved immensely. That to me is so profound, and it speaks volumes. And I'm not one for regrets. Even I lost my sister unexpectedly. I've lost a lot similarly to you, but the thing is I, like you, believe everything unfolds in divine timing. And I think that as long as we show up as love for ourselves and enjoy in any given moment, we embody Christ consciousness, love consciousness, whatever you want to call it, right? Judgment free, showing up in love. And in that extends far beyond our physical experience, whether we're here or not.
Amen.
And that's why I love joy.
Yeah. Amen. Absolutely. I would have to agree with that 100%. It changes our lives.
100. Yeah. And that's the thing is, but I want to come full circle for the listening audience. Anybody who's just jumping in, this is Al Richards, who I really hope you can join us again, because this has been so fun. It's been a party, but he has lost a limb. He has unexpectedly lost somebody that was a huge part of his life for 18 years. And he's still here less than a week later, showing up in joy and showing up in love because of the choices he makes every day to serve himself, and in doing so, serve others. So that's pretty powerful. So when you feel disempowered, rather than, feel stuck in what's going wrong for you, how can you extend joy and love to others? Because when you do, that will reciprocate right back to you in ways you can't ever imagine. Al, is there anything that you want to share with the listening audience before you jump?
Oh, man. Yeah, let's just go back to the love thing, right? We've talked about it throughout this show. If you're at a point right now in your life where you may be going through some challenges, which we do. Life, I like to use this term, life has a way of throwing shit balls at us, and sometimes they hit us square in the face, and it's okay. However, when you start working on learning how to love yourself, you will see in a very short period of time how much your life is going to change. I mean, seriously, it changes in such a huge way. If I would have known this back when I was a teenager, I would have started it back then. Maybe I would have made the choices that I made in my life, or still maybe I would have. But again, I would just say, do your best. Kerri mentioned it at the beginning of the show, and even I think halfway through the show. Love cannot go wrong. It just cannot. It doesn't lead you in a dark place. It doesn't lead you to bad. It doesn't lead you to making wrong choices. Love only has a forward motion. That's it. And when you can tap into it, so many more blessings start happening in your life, and the right people start coming into your life. Yep. It's like God places them like perfect placed chess pieces on a table.
You know about chess?
Not really. I'm a checker guy, but but I'm just using chess because I know how strategic the moves are, right? Yeah.
Listen, now, me and Nana's first fight was over a chess game. I'm just saying. You bringing up some.
It was because of love that it kept it moving forward. That's what it was.
See, that's why I stick with checkers.
We're so competitive. Checkers could be a dangerous game too. No, but in all seriousness, real quick for the listening audience, for me, love is freedom from judgment. with no expectation. And I want to clarify that because I think that we in the society have a fundamental understanding that love comes with condition or expectation. But the love that Al and I and Nana extend, and I can say this because I've known both of these individuals, I know their heart, is we show up in unconditional love for each person because we show up in unconditional love for ourselves, which means we're Hot Mess Expresses. We're not perfect, but in our imperfection, we can love ourselves. And that gives us the ability to love others where they're at, whether they're in active addiction, whether they've committed a crime, whether they are, struggling in some capacity. And that's the love we're talking about. But anyway, with that, guys, Al, I can't wait till me and Nana come out to Salt Lake because we're going to get into some trouble with you.
Let's do it.
I love you so much, gentlemen.
So much. On that note, on here. Thank you so much. A pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, pleasure to meet you too, buddy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Until next time, guys, thank you for listening to the Brightside Chronicles with Nana Ajman and Kerri Lewis featuring Al Richards. Please follow him. He has a beautiful podcast and he is on Facebook. And I just love you so much. So thank you and everybody watching. Until next time.
Bye, guys.